Jordy's wisdom. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, we're pretty fortunate. Some of you know Jordy, and that's why you're here. There's a lot of names that have registered that I don't know that kind of come from other circles, which is awesome. And we're excited to have you all here. I'm going to share the screen here in just a minute and introduce Jordy, and he's got some things to share with you. But one of the things he wanted to do, and I told you you could do this, but I'm going to mention it right now. If you'll put your email addresses in the chat, just to make sure I can pull some of them from the Eventbrite. But Jordy wanted to give away a couple of books to those that attended today, and he's going to talk a little bit about that. So he will be able to do that by communicating with those that have put their email address in. So, and I'll also pick up the ones from the Eventbrite registration page. But Jordy, we're fortunate to have him on our team here at EXP. When he's done, we're actually going to do an overview of our brokerage model and tell you a little bit more about Lynn and I. Some of you don't know us, so we'll introduce ourselves later. Right now, it's Jordy. Jordy's a go-getter, does probably 20+ million in volume in real estate sales, but also flips around a home a month. In fact, I saw your goals and you posted them on Facebook, so I can say this because it's on Facebook. Next year, he plans on increasing his portfolio by 8 more properties. So that's not like building a portfolio at 8 properties, that's 8 more properties, and has set a minimum goal to flip 17 more homes. So do the math on that. He's better than 2 homes a month going into 2021. So, and I know he'll accomplish that, just knowing Jordy. So I'm excited to have him here. He's going to be talking to us about fix and flips. So pay attention. If we're talking about something that it's like, hey, before he moves on to this, I want him to go a little bit deeper. I got a question, then feel free to unmute yourself and ask a quick question. Otherwise, put them in the chat, save them till the end. We're obviously going to do a Q&A at the end. We're going to go 45 minutes, maybe an hour. We'll try and keep it in that time frame just to be respectful of your time. But if we got some good Q&A going, we might go a little bit over that. So keep that in mind. I do want you to know that you have permission to unmute yourself and kind of interrupt us if it's timely enough to what he's discussing at the time. So I'm going to have Jordy come up, but before I do that, I'm going to share the screen so he doesn't have to do it.
You also have people turn on their cameras, please.
Yeah, and could you turn on your cameras, guys? He wants to see all your beautiful faces. Where is your? That's why I'm doing this right now, because it looks like I closed his PowerPoint. So let me go open that up. No, that was mine. Give me 1 second. I had this all ready, and then Lynn wanted me to change the screen, or Sydney did. Give me 1 sec. I go slower when I'm under pressure, so. PowerPoint. Almost there, hang tight.
While we're waiting for Jeff to do that, if you guys have questions, please type them into the chat bar, and please let me know how many people have ever fixed or flipped a home. Type that into the chat bar too. And if you have, how many you have flipped, just so I can kind of get an idea of where people are at.
Okay, guys, do you see the slide, the title slide? All right, cool. Come on over, Jordy. Jordy Clark.
It's not in presentation mode, Jeff, but we can see the slide and preview of the next.
Well, if you don't need to see the slides, I can open it.
I want to see everyone, so.
Oh, okay.
Go grab another computer or a monitor.
Okay, real quick, I just want to see who we've got on here.
Let me just expand this.
Hey, everyone.
You're not going to see
Good
everybody
morning.
on one screen, though.
That's okay. Sherry, Liz, Checkits, T Strong, Sherman. Let's get your cameras on if you can. If you're driving, I totally get it. Alyssa, Deborah, Sandra, Chad, Kim, Betty. Oh, Betty definitely better put her camera
you can
on.
hit this button there and go back and forth.
Okay. Matt, Landon, Caden, Chris, Grams, Courtney. Guys, if you can turn your cameras on, please do. I want this to be as engaging as possible. I am here taking an hour out of my day to help you guys in your journey. This is 100% about you, not about me. So please give me some engagement. Let's see here. Where can I see the chat, Jeff?
Let me see, it was up, but I just covered it.
I just got done exercising. I have no makeup on. I'm sweating. I'm going to pass on the video, but I
Hey,
will be
you're
here
good.
listening.
You're good. I can imagine it. So thank you. Good job on getting the workout in, by the way. I was not able to work out this morning.
Thank you.
It's not opening for some reason.
Okay, maybe someone else can read me the questions as they come up as we start going.
Yeah, I'll have Sydney monitor it.
Okay, cool.
I would start my video, but I'm on the golf course right now, so in St. George.
Poor Brandon.
So you might get a little bit of my pocket. So
That's all right. You can absorb through my voice, I guess. Okay, cool. Right, so let's see. Welcome, guys. How's everyone doing today? Thumbs
Great.
up, thumbs down, mediocre, lots of thumbs up. Cool. Okay, so a little introduction. Thank you for Jeff for that introduction. I have brokered a ton of real estate. I think I'm up to like 600 transactions in my real estate career in the last 7 years. We've fixed and flipped over 35 houses now in the last few years. Just last year, the last 2 years, I ran some numbers. I spent about $1.5 million renovating houses here locally. We obviously have a rental property portfolio, so we've got a lot going on. The title, I think, is a little misleading today, but I'm going to go ahead and give this disclaimer. Can everyone see it? Give me a thumbs up if you can see the disclaimer.
No, he wants to see.
Sorry, I can't see it. Yes. Okay, great. This is from my amazing asset protection attorney. Just real quick, investing is just that. It's investing. There is no guaranteed returns. While I strive to give you guys as much information as possible, please know that there is risk involved in investing, and consult CPAs, attorneys, any other professional. I'm coming at this from a real estate broker point of view. So because I have my broker license, I feel like I can give some advice from the broker's standpoint. So yeah, there we go. My quick little disclaimer. Really what we do is we come in and we look for the houses on the left. This was actually in way better condition than when I bought this property. I bought this property about a year ago. It took us about 60 days to renovate it and turn it around. We had some foundation issues that we had to fix. Some other stuff came up, and we ultimately sold it right when COVID was hitting. And I learned a lot here. So by show of chat, I guess, the house on the left, who would this intimidate, or who would feel comfortable taking this sort of a project down as a fix and flip? Let's see real quick. I got one. I got a thumbs up. Bring it. I would take it all day, every day. Awesome. Love it. Cool. Will you see if there's any questions while I do this? So this one, it was a pretty interesting rehab. We had to jack the middle of the floor up by about 5 inches. My original budget for this whole house, it was like 680 square feet, was 25,000, and we ended up spending almost 40. We held on to it longer than I thought. We went through 3 buyers. We still didn't correct the floor, but I learned a ton of lessons on this one. Yeah, and I made a few bucks. So that's all that matters, right? It definitely takes a different skill though. So, oh, cool. Forward and back. Cool. So right here, has anyone ever bought a house like this?
Oh, yeah.
Type in the chat bar,
Definitely.
just Jeff?
Hell, yeah.
Yes.
I love houses like that.
Order houses. I love it. I just bought this one last week in Kearns, and I get excited when I see this if I can get it for the right price, because there is actually not much wrong with this house other than you have to spend a lot of time and money junking it out and getting, I think we filled up 3 40-yard dumpsters.
It helps when they smell real bad too.
It does help when they smell real bad. And this one smelled like smoke and pets, so even better. Really, what you're looking for in a fix and flip is you're looking for a house that has some sort of a distress, and that is not always physical distress, right? So this seller was extremely motivated, happened to be a divorce situation. They obviously had a lot of stuff, and they were willing to sell it at a discount because they didn't want to deal with all their stuff. Now, if there's any real estate agents here, which I'm assuming probably 50% of people are licensed agents here, if you get a property like this and the seller says, I can't move all my stuff, then there's a problem that needs to be solved, right? So this is when I'll typically come in, and they may not get absolute top dollar, but they don't have to deal with anything. I'll buy it cash as is. In fact, I bought this house and I closed last week, and I go in, it was 35 degrees outside and it was 41 degrees inside because they failed to let me know that the furnace wasn't working, right? But that's the deal. It was cash. I closed in 4 days. And they took whatever they wanted and they left whatever they didn't, and we removed the rest of it. So in our purchase contract, you can't leave a home like this. Most retail buyers would freak out. It would be a huge deal, right? But selling to an investor, we can solve these problems. And a lot of the times, even though we may not think it, price is not always the most important term in the contract, right? So just a little plug there. If anyone ever comes across a listing like this, I would be happy to let you represent me and get both sides of the commission. Just call me and we can work something out. So next slide here, that vibrates, that's cool. I want to kind of talk about this. Now, I bought this off market. I actually bought it from another investor. He just couldn't get to the project. He had too much stuff on his plate. And so he sold it to me. And I kind of wanted to talk about this for a minute because, well, let's see this. Why don't you guys type in 3 things that you see in the chat bar that we did in this kitchen? We'll give you a second. So obviously before is on the left, after is on the right. This house I probably flipped 18 months ago. Okay. We got moved to the fridge, paint, appliances, flooring, backsplash, lights, counters. Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
Appliances.
Extended the kitchen by knocking down a wall, new counters and cabinets. Cool. Anything else? Anything that has not been talked about?
They say
Lighting.
Lighting.
Boom, yes. So we removed the old melon light or boob
I'll
light
say it,
or whatever
booby
you want to
light.
call it.
I'll say it.
And what we did is we actually repurposed these cabinets because they were in good shape. So you don't always need to just demolish everything and start from the ground up. A lot of the times when you're working with budgets, if something is in good shape, you can repurpose it. So we had a professional painter come in, paint the cabinets. You'll notice that the doors are actually the same doors. We just installed different hardware in the same spot, right after we painted it. We fixed a couple of the drawers. We did do new countertops and a backsplash. We also raised all of the cabinets up. And by doing that, it made the kitchen feel more open. We did not remove a wall. I know that in the first picture, it was hard to tell. The second picture, It's a wide angle lens, obviously, which helps everything. But yeah, really, we didn't move too much stuff around. We moved the cabinets up, painted them, did new hardware, backsplash. We did 4 can lights instead of one of the booby lights. We did all new appliances and all new flooring. So this is kind of what I would call like a mediocre flip. So it's not like a flip where you go in and just paint carpet. We actually did more than that because we did all new appliances. We did granite countertops, which I still got at a discount, by the way. We did not go for the most expensive quartz. We just went for something that looked good and fit the area. So the biggest thing that I've learned in fixing and flipping is don't over improve the house, right? Which I think we all tend to do because we want to make it nice. We want to add a lot of value. But a lot of the times the value can be in just making it look and be what people are looking for without going overboard, right? I could have very easily just said, let's demo all of these cabinets and spend $3,500 putting new cabinets in. But that would have cut into my profit margin, and where the cabinets were in such great shape, they just need a little bit of fix up and paint. Someone gets the same feeling of a white kitchen, but they don't necessarily have brand new boxes. I will throw a disclaimer in. I think if you're flipping anything that will be worth more than $500,000 on the back end when you sell it, it's commonly called an ARV, or after repair value. Then you probably are going to want to do new cabinets versus repurpose the old cabinets. This one happened to be in West Valley. That's 60 to 70% of where I like to stay, just because it's starter housing. And that's a real big need right now that we have, is affordable entry-level housing. So again, that just kind of comes with the knowledge, right? Like I would never repaint cabinets in a $700,000 Mill Creek flip. I would do new custom cabinets. So here's another picture of the kitchen, how it was. Someone asked me about this after we stopped recording, because I have a funny story that I don't want recorded. And then here's just another picture of what we did, right? We did nice granite. We fixed some of the windows, threw more can lights in, etc. Oh, and had it staged, because staging it makes a big difference. It's bigger behind you, by the way.
I know, I was just seeing it was recording.
Okay.
I got my glasses on.
So this right here, now that you've seen some before and afters, I do have more, so don't worry. I wanted to talk about how you know if you're getting a good deal, okay? And the way I look at it, I try to look at it the way an appraiser is going to look at it. So I do about a mile radius most of the time. I look at what's active, what's under contract, and what has sold, typically in the last 90 days. Now, I will tell you, because our market in Utah right now is so crazy, I am only looking in the last 45 days at solds and what's active and under contract, because that will give you a way better feel on the market versus going 90 or 180 days back, because our market has been moving very rapidly. Okay, I look plus or minus 10% on the square footage. Okay, now if it's a 2,000 square foot Rambler, I'm typically going 1,800 to 2,200 square feet. If I can't find any comps that meet those two first criteria, I'll continue on, but then you can expand those to a little bit more than the rest of these. Okay, I look at the same style house, a Rambler, 2-story, tri-level, condo, townhome, etc. And I would not cross compare, right? So if I'm looking at a tri-level house that's built in the 80s, it is not comparable to a house that was built in the 1940s that's a bungalow or a Rambler, right? And in a lot of these areas like West Valley, you'll get a good mix of year builds. You know, you'll have brand new neighborhoods next to houses that are 70, 80 years old. And you just want to make sure that you're comparing like with like. you also want to look within 10 years of when it was built. So if I'm looking at a potential flip and it was built in 1950, I'm going to go from 1940 to 1960. And I really don't deviate from that very much unless we get all the way back to like the turn of the century. And then I'll go from like anything older than 1940. I look back 90 days or less, find the best looking comp, or yeah, I guess the best looking comp. You want to find what your end product is going to be. So if I'm looking at a house and I'm going, okay, I can really only carpet and paint this one because the margin's pretty thin. I'm not going to compare that with something that someone's decked out and they've got new cabinets, they've got quartz countertops, right? And I'm going to have Formica and old cabinets. So you want to look at that just to determine like, hey, if this house had sold, what would it have sold for based on these comparables? And this is probably the toughest part of being a flipper after managing contractors and your budget, is just knowing what things are going to sell for. I've had really long conversations with flippers and hard money lenders and other investors. And I'm like, hey, let me get your opinion. What's this worth, right? So sometimes it's worth getting a second opinion. If anyone is ever stuck and they need a second opinion, please feel free to reach out to me. More than happy to take a quick look and let you know what my thoughts are. Because that can make or break a deal, right? Sometimes there's a $40,000 swing and we just don't know why. So with that being said, the next thing is no dividing lines in the valley. So I'm here locally in Utah. I know some people are in Vegas or Idaho or wherever else, but in Salt Lake, we have certain areas that you'll get a $15,000 bump just by being on the other side of a street, right? So people will literally pay $40,000 more to be on this particular street versus this particular street. So it's important that as you're looking, you go, okay, well, 4700 South in West Valley splits Kearns and West Valley. Well, people will pay $15,000 more to have a West Valley zip code than they will to be in Kearns. So you can't look at a potential Kearns deal and think you're going to get the West Valley prices, right? Same thing with like the Canyon Rim area. So below 215 and above 215 are two totally different areas. So I can't compare a flip in the Canyon Rim area to something in, what's the area above 215? I'm having a blank right now.
I'm blanking.
Mill Creek.
No, it's not Mill
Cove.
Creek. No, it's
Cove?
the Cove. The Cove,
The code.
yeah. Cove. Anyways, so basically just know
Olympus
your
Cove.
dividing lines. Olympus Cove.
Olympus Code.
Yep.
Halfway.
And it's more of an art than a science. You will continue to get better and better and better. I would also say, can you see how many people in here have flipped the house before?
Oh yeah, you already asked.
If you have never flipped a house before, I would stay on the west side of Salt Lake County. I would stay where you're buying entry-level housing because it is way more forgiving than the $650,000 Mill Creek flip that I'm doing right now that we completely gutted and we're spending close to $125,000 on just the renovation.
10 or 12 would answer.
10 or 12, okay. Most people have done a flip then, at least one. Cool. Kind of gives me an idea.
About a third, or
Okay.
we got way more than 12.
Yeah. So basically the point is don't go and flip $1 million house if you've never flipped $1 million house, right? Like work up to it. The entry level housing is far more forgiving on the small little details like paint touch-ups, trim touch-ups, stuff like that, than the higher end price ranges. Buyers just get pickier. You have to be more in tune with trends where right now, if it's a moderately priced house in good condition, it'll sell in West Valley or Kearns, or Magna or Tooele. I'm not discriminating. So real quick, I pulled this yesterday. And I tried to use one house for the rest of these comparisons. So if these were the comparable houses that are all within a 10% variance of square footage that have sold in the last 60 days, I might have even done less than that. I might have done 30. If I were looking at a potential deal, let's say the house needed $40,000 in rehab, how would I know what it's worth and if I'm getting a good deal? Let me see your guys' opinion in here. Needs 40,000. What do you think it's worth and what do you think I should be buying it for?
Come on, don't be shy and enter something in the chat.
There's no tricks.
Okay, this is good. So how I would run the numbers is I would take what I think the after repair value is. I would subtract.
So, are you looking in here? So
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the comments was, are those comps ARVs? Are those already remodeled comps?
Yeah,
Depends on the cost of the money and expected profit margin.
Yeah.
Obviously, you gotta factor that in.
okay,
Shaw says 70% of ARV minus rehab costs.
okay. Yeah. If you're getting something at 70% of ARV minus rehab costs, call me. That's awesome though. So there are some quick rules of thumb. And all of this is true. It does depend on the cost of your money. It depends on what you want to make. Yes, all of these are after repair value comps. I do not go by average square foot price because I just don't think it's accurate enough. So, yes, what's your
So
question?
that says a listing amount. What do those actually sell for?
Oh, good point. They were all pretty close to the listing price. A few were over, a few were slightly under, but I would say that's close enough for this example. So with that being said, I think this house would be worth $350 because I'm assuming when there's a large grouping like this, usually just quickly looking at things, that's what it's probably going to be worth. If you've got 4 really good comps at $350, yeah, you have one higher, you have one lower, but there was probably a reason it sold for less. But most of them are selling right around in the same range on that 10% of variance in square footage. So really just quickly looking at this, I would want to back off 10% for the cost of sale. And this is literally my formula when I'm analyzing deals. Please write it down. So if it's worth $350, I'm going to minus $35,000 for title fees, buyer's closing costs, agent commissions, right? 10% is a safe margin. Could you do it for less? Yeah. Are you an agent and you're flipping a deal? Yeah, but hey, I still want you to make a commission. If you're flipping a house, I want you to make a profit on the flip. I want you to make a commission on the sale because it's not worth the risk to flip a house and make a commission. It's just not worth it. So you should be compensated as an agent. You should be compensated as a flipper. So I'd go 350,000 minus 35,000. And then I would subtract my profit because I want to make my profit first. So we'll call it 20,000 bucks. And then I would subtract what I thought the cost of rehab was. We'll just call it $40,000 for this example. And then I use hard money. I pay 2 points, 12% on a 6-month note. So just so that no investor gets left behind, 2 points is an origination fee that the lender charges me just to do all the documents. And then they charge me 12% annually for 6 months. So I'm going to assume I'm going to take 6 months on every single deal from start to finish. My average is a lot quicker than that, but I'm going to assume that just in case something weird happens, buyers back out, you have to hold on to the property for longer. 6 months is a good window of time. So to do that, I would times my expected loan amount by 0.12 and then divide by 2. That gives me 6 months of interest, and then I would take my expected loan amount and times it by 2%. That would give me my points. You're gonna have title fees, which is about another 1% when you purchase it. So let's see, we've got 10% cost of sales. We've got what our profit is going to be, what our rehab is going to be. Let's just say $15,000 is what we pay a hard money lender. I usually put in 15,000 bucks just as a placeholder, and then if it's less, then great. What does that put me at a purchase price at?
Well, with.
Type in if you have it.
240, but I don't know if that's an additional 15.
About 240. Let's see.
Or 25.
240. Yeah. So 240, perfect. Yeah, we got a couple of people that got it. So yeah, I would need to be buying it around the 240 mark for it to make sense for me to flip it, assuming that the rehab needs 40,000 bucks. And I'm going to profit 20. So usually if your rehab is less, you can pay a little bit more for the property. If the rehab is more, you can pay less. A quick and dirty rule of thumb I look at is about $100,000 spread between what I'm paying and what I'm going to sell it for will usually let me know if the deal is worth looking into further, right? Because I probably get 8 or 9 wholesale deals a day that I have to filter through. And also for the agents here, if you're representing a seller, you've got to know about what it's worth given the amount of work that it needs, okay? So 100,000 bucks. If I were buying this at 240, I'd do the deal, assuming that it's worth 350 after a $40,000 rehab. We kind of went over this, how to read the market when selling.
Hey, Jordy.
Again, is a very, yeah, what's up?
Quick question. To get your ARV price, are you then just taking the sold prices and averaging them out? How are you getting your ARV price?
Yeah, that's what I did. So there's 3 or 4 houses that sold at about the same price.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to assume that the appraiser is going to use those comps.
Gotcha. Okay,
Because
thank you.
they all validate the same price. So if I'm thinking like an appraiser, I have to justify why this house is worth 350.
Mhm.
So I'm going to use comps that justify that, right?
Right.
In other words, let's say I contracted this property for $399 and an appraiser goes to and appraise it. And these are the only comps that he can find with a 10% in square footage that have all been remodeled. Do you think I'm going to get $399 on an appraisal?
Not at all.
Yeah. So ultimately the buyer would be willing to pay it unless we negotiate with the buyer, which is actually happening a lot right now, that they'll pay above appraised value. We are locked in with what the appraiser dictates, basically. So I want to make sure that, I'm not paying $300 for this house thinking I'm going to flip it at $400 if all the comps are at $350,
Right.
because then I'm going to lose money.
Mhm.
So does that answer your question?
Yep. I just have always done it based off of average of sold square foot price. I was just curious. That's all.
Yeah, that's fine. Are you here locally or are you in a different market?
Locally.
Cool. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I just prefer to look at it differently because all of the appraisers I've talked to, almost none of them use the price per square foot model of valuing a property.
Okay.
And here's the crazy thing appraisers can be interesting. I have a new construction deal. We have all of the comps to verify it. We contract at 515, totally a side note, sorry. The appraiser appraises it at 470. We have two comps that justify our 515 price. We ask him to reconsider. He reconsiders it and says it's still worth 470 because I feel that way.
Because I said so.
Because I said so, right? So ultimately, like, we went back to the buyers and we're like, we're not discounting the price because this is the best lot in the subdivision. We have these two comps that justify the price. There's a lot premium here. You guys knew it going into it, so we're not going to discount it. And they paid the difference. So really, you have to make sure that it's going to appraise or at least get reasonably close, right? Now, if I were flipping this and I did a better job than these other 6 houses, and I felt like there was some other compensating factors that justified a price of 359, maybe 365, could I push the envelope? Sure. You know, as long as you can justify it and have comps that back that up with actual data versus like, no, I just think that's what it's worth. And price per square foot, you totally could. If there was one comp that price per square foot is way higher than the rest, I'd probably dig into it deeper.
I think there's a difference there between what you might list it at when you're done versus what you're talking about before on doing your numbers. You would never do your numbers saying, I'm going to really push the envelope, right?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like the Mill Creek flip I'm doing, I paid $425. It's about $125,000 renovation. When I bought it, I was assuming a $575 sales price. So I was like, it's a little tight of a deal, but I need something for my guys to go to. So we're going to do it. And now I'm looking at it and there's a really good comp down the street that sold for $639. So I'm like, we might push it and go $625. But I would rather have that happen than the opposite where I'm depending on $625. And if I sell it for less, I'm not making money, right? I want you guys to make more money, not less. Okay. That's why I'm doing this training. Next slide is my favorite. How to not lose money on your first fix and flip. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, see rule number 1. Ultimately, there's a lot that goes into it and it is very risky. You have to have more of a risk tolerance. So I did put together about 11 things that I could think of that most people do wrong on their first deals. We kind of talked about not over improving your properties. So I'm not going to talk about that. Remember, no house is perfect, okay? Every house, even new construction, and I sell new construction all day long, even new construction has some defaults or some flaws. It's just impossible to build the perfect house, right? Even if you're building a $3 million house, it's not going to be perfect. So just remember, like, you can't fix everything. You just want to make it safe. You want to make it comfortable. You never want any health or safety issues. So you want to fix all of those. And you also want to make it look good. So you make it look good, right? But it doesn't mean every house has to be taken down to the studs and redone with everything. Set a budget before you buy. So as you're analyzing deals, set a budget. Talk to people, ask, hey, how much would it cost to paint per square foot if I want to do 1-tone paint or 2-tone paint? And then, you know, ask a plumber what it would cost to do a water heater, right? Know what things cost. And this is super important right now because costs are going through the roof on everything. And then run numbers to see if it makes sense. We kind of went over that before. Know what labor and materials cost. Have your contractors lined up. So typically if you're buying a property, your contractors are going to be 2 to 3 weeks out. So you need to know, hey, this is kind of the flow of the renovation. And I'm happy to teach a class on the flow of renovation later. But this is when I'm going to have my framing guy come in. This is when I'm going to have my electrician come in, my HVAC, you know, my drywall guy, my trim guy. This is when I'm having carpet come in. This is cabinets, right? Like you have the flow of how a renovation is going to go. and line your contractors up so that you're not finishing demo and then you're like, okay, I need a framer. And then you're waiting 2 weeks for the framer to get off his other jobs and come and get on yours, right? That goes to the next rule, don't lose a day. Literally what I do is I print out a calendar of whatever month or 2 months that I plan on being on a renovation. So like my Mill Creek flip, I printed off January's calendar and I said, this is the day that the plumber is going to be there. This is the day that, you know, the HVAC guy is going to be there. And it will never go according to plan, but at least you have a plan and then you can tweak things from there. Because if your property sits vacant and you're on hard money, it's costing you $100 to $200 a day just to sit on the property. So time is very, very valuable when you're flipping houses. Even if you're paying cash, time is super valuable. If it's your first flip, visit the property every single day. Check in on your subs, make sure people show up because most of the time they don't show up when they say they're going to show up. So you need to be that person that's like, hey, get to the property, please. I need this done, and bugging them. Hire a mentor if you're not comfortable to do it yourself. Do a meth test. Super easy. Chase Orwin can do it for you guys if you want. And it is great negotiating power when you're purchasing. It also won't bite you in the butt when you go to sell it and you know you didn't realize there was meth in the HVAC, and a buyer does a meth test because they will, and they figure out, hey, there's meth in it. If you're in Salt Lake County, Weber's even worse, and it gets a positive meth test from an inspector, you're gonna have to rip out all your carpet, you're gonna have to rip out anything that's porous, cabinets, flooring, a slew of other things, and redo it all. So meth tests cost what? $90 if you overnight them, $125 if you have someone else do it for you. So meth tests are great peace of mind. So real quick, here's a property. We're running a little short on time, but why don't you guys type in one thing that you saw that we did different other than cabinets, countertop, appliances, and backsplash. Took out the window, yep. Lights, yep, we did can lights. Yep, we did a microwave above the range instead of the stupid little flooring, window, microwave moved, window. Removed the sick Fox sticker. Yes, and you'll notice that we kept the door because I did not want to spend $250 to do a new exterior door. We just painted it. Door casing, yep. Yeah, new casing is super cheap, guys, and it makes the biggest difference. It's like 50 cents a foot. So to redo a whole new house on base and case, including labor, it's like 2,000 square feet. I budget $2,000, 50 cents for labor, 50 cents for materials. And it makes a huge difference. Anything else?
Are those new cabinets or just doors?
New cabinets.
New cabinet.
Yeah. Oh, we did a new doorknob, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Don't make the mistake of doing 99% and then not doing doorknobs and hinges. It's super cheap, but
Leave the strike plates though, because those are always.
not always. Not always.
I'm kidding.
Okay, cool. Here's some more before and afters. This is of the same house, just the bathroom and the kitchen. Other than removing the wall and doing new cabinets and countertops and flooring, what can you guys see that we did?
While they're putting that in there, Jordy Sherman wants to know what you look at when determining cabinets, whether they're worth replacing or redoing.
That's a good question, Sherman. So the first thing I look at is, are they in good shape? Because if they're in bad shape, it is not worth trying to get rid of them. It probably costs $600 to $700 to have cabinets repainted. You got to sand it down, repaint it. And if a painter's painting the rest of the house, you can get it done pretty affordably. So if they're in good shape and my after repair value is in Utah under $450, I'll probably just paint them. If it's over $450, I'm probably gonna pay to get new ones. New cabinets in an average kitchen are about $3,200. So it's a $2,500 difference to do new cabinets, and I just feel like the higher end buyers want new cabinets. So relocated kitchen plumbing, yes, yeah, we moved the kitchen sink, we moved the range, we redid everything. Tile surrounded bath and new mirror, yep. You'll notice we kept the bathtub because the bathtub was actually in really good shape. But we did a new surround. Yep, knocked out the wall in the kitchen. I went back and forth on that one.
What a difference though.
It does make a big difference. I probably could have gotten the same value if I did not remove the wall, but I feel like it just helped it sell quicker.
Were you able to pick up any cabinet space for the ones you lost up top?
No, we lost cabinet space. I did make the island long though. We did instead of the fan in the dining room, we did a cool light that looks like a bomb going off. And then we did about 10 can lights upstairs where before there were no can lights. We had to relocate all of the wiring because you'll see on the top right corner, there's some switches right there. So we literally had to rerun all the electrical. Luckily, the wall was not load bearing, which is why we took it out. If it was load bearing, I would have left it and just modified the kitchen to make it make sense on a budget. Because this house in Riverton only sold for $375. Seems crazy now. This was only like 6 months ago. I should have just kept it, paid the hard money points and sold it for 400.
Did you do new windows?
No, the windows were in good shape. The roof was in good shape. We did have to do a new HVAC system, which cost us about $6,000 to do the whole HVAC system. Here's some other pictures of it, the exterior, the interior. You can kind of see the wall we removed and the fireplace. We did take down all of that sweet rock around the fireplace, but we kept the mantle and just painted it because it was in good shape, and then just did new tile around it. And staging makes a big difference. The cool thing is yes, we always stage. We did not remove that flooring. It was like the old parquet flooring. This LVP that we use, you can just float right over a lot of stuff. And you don't have to spend $3 or $4 a foot demoing stuff like that. Now, we did demo all of the tile in the kitchen because there was like a 1/2 inch difference. So we just raised the subfloor in the kitchen where the tile was and then floated everything out. And it actually makes it a little bit more soundproof for the basement because you're not straight on the subfloor. What's the question?
Couple questions. Do you talk to an engineer to determine the weight bearing walls? Or can you do that?
I would
yourself?
say consult with an engineer to see if it's load bearing. I will answer that question in a minute.
Make sure. So besides meth test, is there any other inspections you do to a property before you buy it?
Depends on the property. Most of them, no. I'm buying them and closing in 3 or 4 days. If it's an older property, I will sewer scope it because sewer lines are super expensive if you get one that's broken. Asbestos is a popular test in Washington due to older homes. Yeah. So really, I've bought and sold enough houses that I'm really only concerned about the big mechanical stuff. And even then, like, I'll just look at it and see, hey, is the furnace 4 years old or is it 40 years old? If it's 40 years old, I'm just going to budget $6,000 for a whole new HVAC system. If it comes in a little bit less, it comes in a little bit less.
Is asbestos really something that people look at in Utah? Like, I know up in Washington and Idaho, they don't really look at the meth thing that we look at, but that's probably Mindy that's bringing this up.
Yeah.
Asbestos is not something that a lot of our people really do investigations on here.
No, same with lead-based paint, like no one cares.
Yeah.
No one actually tests for lead-based paint or asbestos.
Do you, like, before you flip, do you do a test to get an abatement done if you've got a popcorn ceiling, or do you guys just have your guys go in there and take it out?
I would say do whatever makes you feel most comfortable.
Exactly, that's a really good answer.
Okay, why should you invest in Utah? So this gets me to really the meat of the webinar or whatever. This was another house that we flipped. It's always cool to see the before and afters of flips. Super sexy. Everyone loves it. I'm sure that's why everyone hopped on here, is because they wanted to see all the before and afters and the nasty house and learn how to do it. I've made money on most flips I've done. I've lost money on one for a couple of different reasons, but most of the time it goes well if you buy it at the right price and you correctly budget your renovation. I'll be honest, we fix and flip so that we can buy and hold, if that makes sense. The only reason we're flipping as much as we are is because I want as much cash as possible to go and buy distressed houses and hold on to them for as long as possible by letting tenants pay down that debt. So here's why. This is taken from the Federal Housing Finance Agency. It's the housing price index for the last 27 years. Well, actually 30 years now. And if you look, this is nationwide. Utah has been number 4 in the 1-year appreciation. So last year we appreciated on average at 10.66% over the whole state. Okay, which is freaking amazing. If you own a lot of properties. If you don't, it sucks. Since 1991, this is what I want to talk about. Since 1991 in Utah, we've appreciated 386%. So let's just take a minute and wrap our minds around that. If you bought a home in 1991, it would be worth 400% of what you paid for it. Now, if you compare that with Columbus, Ohio, Georgia, New Hampshire, most of the nation actually, it's like quadruple or double what the appreciation rate has been in other parts of the nation. And there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of people are coming to Utah from California, from Washington, from New York, because it's more affordable here. There's no state taxes. It's better for businesses. It's a better place to raise your family. Even the worst parts of Utah are nothing like the worst parts of one of the boroughs in New York or Compton, right? Like, we just don't have any war zones in Utah. It's a good place to live. And a lot of people see that. We also have a lot of tech companies here that are moving here and bringing people here. The remote work movement, I think COVID sped up what was already happening and condensed 10 years into a year. A lot of people can now work wherever they want, right? So you might as well work somewhere that you enjoy being and recreating. So real quick, a quick case study. I sold this house to an investor. I should have freaking bought it myself. I sold it to an investor in 2014 for 140 grand. It's 2,200 square feet. This is the house that I based the previous comparables off of. So I sold it for 140,000. It was a foreclosure, needed some minor work. I think he put an extra 10,000 bucks in it to get it rent ready. And he rented it for 1,200 bucks a month. Today, that same house is worth between 345 and 360. This is one of the comparables from the 5 that I showed you guys before. It's about the same square footage, built in about the same year. It has a 1-car garage where the previous one had a 1-car carport. But it sold for 356 in 4 days, right? Rent has gone up. It's about $1,895 a month for a 5-bedroom in West Valley, right? So his payment stayed the same. It was about $1,000 a month. So he's now making 900 bucks a month in passive income, which is what gets you guys to financial freedom, which is why we're all here. We want to have enough passive income that pays our bills, and then we can truly do whatever we want all day. Right? For me, that's probably going to be doing a heck of a lot more real estate, just knowing that my bills are paid for. And this is why we're flipping. We flip, take those profits, pay taxes, we give some of it away, and then we take the rest of it and we buy cash flowing real estate. We're currently under contract to purchase an office building and a 5-unit apartment complex in the next 30 days because of the cash that we've generated in the last quarter. And both of those, well, the office building I'm buying with an SBA loan, so I'm not going to get my cash back out. But the apartment building, we're actually going to go in, increase the rents, increase the value, and refinance all of our money back out of it. And at the end of the day, it'll still make us $1,700 a month with no money in the deal. So flipping, and again, this is a great example of not over improving. We used the same cabinets. We got rid of the fluorescent lights. We did 4 can lights. You can actually see that the hardware is like slanted because the hardware was slanted in the old cabinets.
You don't want to drill.
And we didn't want to drill new holes. So we just put it there and the buyers loved it. Like, I was like, should we, shouldn't we? I don't know. Let's just do it. And the buyers ended up loving it because it was different, right? And those poles, we bought them on Amazon. They're like $40, made the world of difference. So something to leave you guys with. I'm a big planner. I'm a big goal guy. So the questions are, how much do you want in assets, at what age, giving you what ROI? So for me, I want 20 million bucks in assets in 5 years at a 12% ROI. Why? Because I want to create financial freedom, right? Passive income pays my bills. So I don't need to work if I choose not to. I'm going to focus on a strategy called the stack. So I need to update this slide. I did it 2 years ago. 1 unit 2 years ago, I actually ended up buying 2. 2 units the next, I bought 2 last year, 4, 8, 16, etc. So our actual progression was we bought 2 in 2019, 2 in 2020. We're going to buy 8 this year. And then we'll probably, I don't know, buy 20 next year or something. We're focusing on B2C class properties in Salt Lake County. That is not buying a new construction condo or townhouse and just putting 20% down. And we're focusing on value add opportunities. So we'll go in and buy a distressed house or 5-plex or office complex or whatever, fix it up, refinance because it's going to be worth more because we can rent it for more. And then try to get most of our money back out and keep recycling our money while we continue to do all these flips. So all of this is great information. At the end of the day, you need to figure out what is your next step. We're all in different places, but we can all take the next step to get to where we want to go. And side note, don't get so distracted on where you want to go that you forget where you're at, because every day is a gift. I've had a few friends that had family members. I've had a friend pass away last year. Life is just too short. So enjoy where you're at. Don't always get caught up in where you want to be. Enjoy where you're at. Action and accountability help us meet our goals. So just by showing up, you guys are being accountable right now to learning. Keep doing it. Keep showing up. I am a board member of 2 great associations here in Utah, SLRIA and UVRIA. They're both real estate investor associations. It's $150 for the annual membership. And just going to the meetings, you're going to get way better information than this. And you're going to meet people, you're going to network, you're going to learn as you go down this wealth building journey. So I would highly encourage you guys to become a member of both of those organizations. I got on the board because it made such an impact in our life. So lastly, I'm totally open if someone wants to jump on, but it's probably easier with the chat. If you guys type in, what are the top 3 things that you've learned? And then I would take that a step further, just as your guys' homework assignment is figure out where you're at and where you want to be and how you're going to get there. And then the top 3 things that you've learned, how are you going to implement on those things? Because this is all good, but I really want you guys to make progress. I don't want to do this same webinar in a year, because I think I did one a year ago. And then, you know, have everyone be in the same place, just on the commission treadmill or the W-2 treadmill or whatever, just working to work, right? So, yeah.
Hey, so while you guys are thinking of that, think of your top 3 things that you've learned from today and put that in the chat. Jordy, you had a question. A lot of these people haven't flipped a home before. So I don't know if Rick's on the call. There are some flippers that will take on a mentee if they bring them a deal. Do you ever do anything like that, to where maybe they can learn as they do by partnering, and they've got some skin in the game, they're participating somehow, but being able to ride through the process with somebody that's done it before? You ever do that?
I would be open to doing that. Right now, my time is very constrained because I'm representing a builder in 2 different subdivisions, and it's a ton of work momentarily. That should be done by April, which will free me up to do more flips, which I'm totally excited about. So yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy, even if we don't partner, to look over your shoulder while you guys do a deal and you help me out. I would say that the RIAs are probably a better place to go to network. Yeah, I mean, I don't love partnering on deals because most of the time you're flipping a house for $20,000, and if you're splitting it 2 ways, it's a lot of work to make maybe $10,000. And really, after you do 2 or 3, you get the fundamentals and you can do it on your own. So I'm totally happy to help, but I don't want to take any of those profits.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought I'd throw it out there. I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody that's never done it before, it's hard to pay for that tuition up front and screw up off your first one. There may not be a second one, right? And so I agree with Jordy on the Investors Association. You need to be rubbing shoulders with people that are doing what you want to do, plain and simple.
And it doesn't cost very much to be part of those groups.
it's $150 a year each. Yeah. How to figure out if it's a good investment.
Where are you finding your
A
leads?
good investment is relative. I mean, yeah, good investment's relative. What to look for in flipping homes, what buyers are looking for. Oh, this is a good one. Caden, what buyers are looking for. Anyone can do this. And I highly suggest anyone who's a real estate professional do it, but anyone who's looking to get into flipping as well. Just go and tour 5 or 6 model homes on a Saturday and look at what trends are, right? So you'll kind of start to see like, hey, this is kind of what the model homes look like. And then just try to make your flip look like a model home just on a budget, right? Because builders spend a ton of freaking money on their models. But if you can get that similar look for a fraction of the cost, you'll do well. How can you make the most of the current market with appreciation rates? I would say don't invest based on us continuing to have this stellar appreciation. Invest as if we're not going to appreciate. And if it does appreciate, it's icing on the cake. Because we could very easily stagnate and go down a little bit. I don't think that's very likely, but it could happen. You reminded me to keep my feet in retail and wholesale. Yes. Yeah, do both. Just take a first step. Don't over-improve. Figure out if you're getting a deal price-wise. Cool. Those are all good takeaways. How to accurately determine ARV for a house. Not over-improve. Choose repurpose over replace whenever is possible. Yes, I'm a pretty frugal guy, so I like that. I also like nice things, so I try to do that on a budget. How much of your own cash did you have to spend on your first flip? Betty, great question. I did my first flip 5 years ago. We actually partnered with a cash partner because I was scared of hard money loans. I was way more focused on, holy crap, this lender is going to make so much interest off of me versus I'm giving half of the profits away. Right. So I partnered with someone cash because I just didn't know any better. And they bought it cash. I did a lot of the work myself, which I don't do now. Just because I value my time more than what I can pay someone to paint it. Even though I can totally paint and do new doors and base and case, and I can even stucco houses, but I choose not to. So my own flip, I put zero cash in the deal, but I put a lot of sweat equity into it, which is fine. I mean, it got me going, right? So yeah. Eric Jones, staying in the highest demand price range if possible. Totally agree. And I think the lower price ranges will always be the most in demand, and they're also the most forgiving. So I would say stay under 350,000 if you can on the after repaired values. Some of the other takeaways: set a budget before you buy. Yes. Don't over improve and hire a mentor. Yeah, those are great takeaways. Melissa says, where did you find your relationship with hard money lenders? I found them at RIAs. I networked with them. I kept showing up. They kind of took notice. I kept talking to them. And when I had a deal, I called them and they knew who I was. So they took my phone call and then we went through the underwriting process. So those RIAs, or the real estate investment associations, it's totally worth the $125 because you're rubbing shoulders and elbows with people who actually do it. And you'll find hard money lenders there because they're looking for new business. They've always got to place money. And their pockets are very deep. I am constrained on the amount of deals I find, not on the amount of hard money I can borrow. What are the names of the UV or the RIAs again? So it's UV RIA, spelled UVREIA. It stands for Utah Valley's Real Estate Investor Association. If you look me up on Facebook and send me a DM or post, I want to know the website or whatever, I'll find it and tag you in it. They meet once a month. The one in Salt Lake is called Sluria. It's SLREIA. I'm sorry, I have to think about it as I say it because I get paid to sell, not spell. My spelling's terrible, so I gotta like literally be like Salt Lake Real Estate Investor Association. So yeah. Any other questions?
You said you're getting like 10 leads a day you're sifting through. Where are those coming from? Because obviously if somebody's listening to something on the MLS trying to get the high mark.
Wholesalers. So typically someone will go in and they're doing a lot of marketing that I just don't have time to do. They'll go in, they'll find a motivated seller and they'll put the property under contract and then mark the contract up $10,000 and they'll wholesale it to me. So they send an email out and you can meet the wholesalers by going to what's called a RIA, right? And they want to move deals. So
they want more contacts.
They want more contacts. You get on their email list and they freaking get
And
blasted.
these are before they're on the MLS, or are they also on the MLS?
They never go on the MLS.
Awesome.
Yep. Just like the MLS is retail, there is a wholesale market. And that's primarily where I buy most of my deals. My Canyon Rim flip in Mill Creek, though, I did pick up off the MLS. So you can find MLS deals.
Is it just as competitive with real estate investors to get those same deals like you're trying to get?
So it's super competitive. Here's what I had to do to get that one. They listed it at 375. I bid 425 with $35,000 non-refundable, and I'd close in 3 days. So cash, right? Because I knew based on my relationship with my hard money lenders, I'd make one phone call and I'd get funded because of my track record, right? And my hard money lenders normally know that I'm paying them off way before 6 months, which they like because they make money on the points, not on the interest. So they know I'm a good borrower, the deal's good. So
Relationships.
yeah. So on the market, that's why it's so competitive, is because you'll have someone like me or the other 50 professional flippers in the county that see the deal. And I mean, we walk it once, we don't need an inspection. We don't need an inspection period. We'll close in 3 days. I'll put up 30, 40 grand of non-refundable money because that speaks higher than someone who's just doesn't know what they're doing and they're not comfortable with it. So it's super competitive though. I wish I did not have to bid that high.
Yeah.
I wish I could have got it for 375.
Hey, so do you have other slides you want to share, or can I push pause on the recording because I want to hear that story?
Yeah, you can put pause on that. What was the story again? Oh, wait.
I don't know.
It's about the counter.
There's no
Well,
story.
well-
There's no story.